I'm Stephen Lacey, a senior editor with Greentech Media, and I'm joined now by Jim Pape, who is the CEO of EnerVault. Jim, good to see you. How are things?
Thanks, Stephen. Good. We're having a good show.
So, big news recently. You just developed a fairly sizable plant, a 1 megawatt hour redox flow battery in California. Tell me a little bit about that project. So that's pretty big for you guys.
Yeah, so getting to that 1 megawatt scale is an important transition for EnerVault. We've scaled the company up logically and methodically in increasing size, but always aimed at the utility scale, long duration storage market. So being able to launch that project, commission it with a nice cast of attendees, and enter that megawatt club was a really big transition point for EnerVault.
Which is a big deal for the flow battery market in general.
Yeah, indeed.
What makes your flow battery different than others, like vanadium flow battery and others that we've seen on the market?
Yeah, so EnerVault's technology is about using iron chromium chemistry. And the importance of iron chromium chemistry is that iron and chromium are very abundant elements. And those elements open up a cost curve that gives us the ability to maybe make the market happen sooner than later. Iron chromium also has a secondary benefit of being a relatively safe chemical pair to work with and be around. So that helps aid in deployability and permitting for these large-scale plants that we intend to place around the world.
So what about efficiencies of this storage technology? Round-trip efficiency is around 60%. When you look at like short duration storage like lithium ion, you're looking at efficiencies of up to 90%. When you look at other aqueous storage technologies, they're higher than the 60%. What do you have to say about the difference in efficiencies?
Yeah, well, the first I'd say is efficiency is a confusing topic. We stay focused on customer cost of energy. And so indeed, we'll enter commercial operations in the 70% round trip efficiency range, but what really matters is customer cost of energy. And that's efficiency, capital cost, operations and maintenance expense, and depreciation, producing what hopefully is an acceptable customer cost of energy. What we're finding now at EnerVault is that we're down to modeling actual grid scale projects, and we're producing really exciting customer cost of energies that have net present project values that say it's game on, the time is now. And so we're happy with the performance of our system and believe that from a total cost of energy perspective, we're entering at exactly the right place.
Sounds a lot like the philosophy of SunPower or PowerLight.
I don't know anything about those companies. I think there are some analogies. We had Tom Warner as a keynote speaker here last night, and Tom talked about why the customer cost of energy is the most important thing, and indeed that's right. It's a higher bar. It's harder to sell net present value on cost of energy than it is to maybe be in the dollar per kilowatt world, where it's a little easier world to discuss. But customer cost of energy is indeed the thing that will make this market happen, and we like our position there. And again, it's enabled by that lower cost and abundant electrolyte, and the redox flow technology is what produces the ability to be long duration. That no physical phase change and just adding tankage and electrolyte to get to long duration is what makes us kind of differentiated and unique in our space.
So you've said that after this project that you just developed, you are on a path toward getting to DOE cost targets at around 20 cents per kilowatt hour. How close are you to that, and how significant is that to achieve that today, or get close to achieving it?
Yeah, what we've said, and of course this is a competitive environment, so I'm not going to be overly specific, but what we've said is that the time is now. We have already bid projects in this round of procurements at prices below the DOE target, and that includes having the confidence in your cost curve and believing in your ability to deploy at multi-megawatt hour scale. And that's where we are today, and that confidence is informed by the Turlock project we talked about a moment ago that says we're in that megawatt hour club, and from here it's not as much about the technology but more about scale. And because our system is fundamentally built with materials for which there is no real friction to scale, the chromium market is large and available to us. Iron is obvious. The rest of our commodities are industrial commodity products that are readily available. So we see no friction to scale in our system and our design. From here out, it's really more about our ability to attract financing by demonstrating our ability to scale and deliver.
Yeah. So that's interesting that you talk about the availability of materials when you look at lithium-ion batteries. obviously materials availability is a big issue, and the manufacturing needs to really scale up battery production are pretty intensive. How does that compare with how you might be able to scale versus the giga-scale battery factories that we're talking about for lithium-ion?
Yeah, as you know, we've provocatively said no gigafactory required, and that's a byproduct of the redox flow architecture. And what that says is that I'll build the cells and stacks, and I'll be responsible for that, but the remainder of the balance of the system of a redox flow battery is provided by partners who provide tanks and pumping and piping packages and things that help provide the infrastructure to scale up. In reality, the electrochemical processing world is a mature industry, and so we see our role as the enabling technology to bring one mature industry into another mature industry and allow this to scale up and be that flexible grid resource that we're here talking about at the conference so much.
So why should I believe you right now? For the last 10 years, I've heard companies talking about their flow batteries, and there are very few in commercial operation, and a lot more companies that have slid away after making grandiose claims. Why should I believe what you're saying?
Well, you should believe EnerVault because we have managed our statements and our expectations very carefully. We've scaled methodically at increasing orders of magnitude and done that without making crazy commitments or unwarranted promises. And so I think that, coupled with the idea that believe in my theory that flow batteries already exist at scale, they're just called electrochemical industry. And the electrochemical industry exists, and it's a mature business. And so turns out building small flow batteries is hard, and many have hit the rocks as they've struggled with chemistries or designs or cell and stack manufacturing. I'm not going to say it's easy, but I like our chances of scaling and moving towards an existing and mature market.
So I want to talk about EPA regulations, because a lot of people are talking about where storage fits into that picture as utilities consider the variety of technologies to integrate to reduce their carbon emissions now that the EPA has set targets. Where do you think storage plays in that, long duration storage specifically?
Yeah, the news on 111D, the amendment to the Clean Air Act is pretty exciting, obviously, to the storage industry, because decarbonization is a big part of the message and the opportunity in grid scale long duration storage. It's not just about storing the belly of the duck in CAL-ISO terms. Decarbonization is indeed an opportunity, from making a thermal plant, a conventional thermal plant, more efficient, which is, we've got opportunities in flight now where we would say the economics look rather interesting for taking conventional thermal resources and making them more efficient. All the way to the enablement of solar or renewables, which is the more conventional discussion about how the need for storage is so clearly generated by the unstoppable growth of a renewable resource.
So your Turlock project is landmark for that technology. Where do you see the technology in 5 years from now? Where do you see your development as a company and the broad ecosystem of storage?
Yeah, I don't think the forces that are driving the growth are on the verge of being unstoppable. The growth of renewables, the reconstitution of the conventional resource portfolio in our nation and around the world, I think creates growth that says in 5 years, this is a generation asset class that's financeable, it's bankable, and it's being deployed by companies like EnerVault at the hundreds of megawatt hour scale all around the world.
Jim Pape, CEO of EnerVault, thanks so much. Good to talk to you.
Thanks, Stephen. Great to see you.